This video is a follow-up to Activity 4, which we talked about when we talked about grief and a headhunter's rage. In that activity, I posed these two questions to you, and I wanted to circle back to them, make sure we all have a common understanding. So the first question was, ethnographers are meant to remain objective and detached from their subject of study. Describe how and why Rosaldo came to understand the Ilongot's practice of headhunting. And then also, why does Rosaldo describe ritual as a busy intersection of social processes? Well, hopefully it was obvious enough to you all within the reading that it was the death of his wife, Michelle Rosaldo, in 1981, that made Renato realize his own anger and bereavement. What he went through was not the exact same thing as the bereavement that the Ilongot experienced, but he wrote this piece as a way to explain his own anger and grief as a means of allowing Western readers to understand the context of rage and to help provide them with a better understanding for this, what from an outsider's perspective would be a very violent behavior and an extreme reaction to grief and mourning. This is the quote from the article itself. It talks about, how he found his wife's body, the grief he felt, the feelings and emotions he was going through. Obviously, he had already experienced a similar sort of tragedy when his brother died 4 years earlier, so we get this sense of just the pure rage that is a part of what he's going through. So it's through this personal experience that Renato Rosaldo came to understand Ilongot grief from a new perspective. He wasn't completely, viewing it from an emic perspective, but he's getting a lot closer to it. He's no longer completely an outsider to this experience and to why they had this type of reaction. In this way, we see that headhunting serves as a culturally defined outlet for intense rage of grief and an emotionally volatility experience throughout the life course amongst Ilongot youths and adults. This physical practice of cutting off the head, tossing it away, it symbolizes to them the tossing away of their burdens, their grief, and their rage. What I particularly appreciated about this piece is that he's drawing attention to the fact that the perspective of the anthropologists themselves can influence their cultural interpretations. And so I included another quote here where he hits this exactly on the head. The ethnographer as a positioned subject, so the ethnographer and the subject are both positioned in different ways to each other. So the ethnographer grasps certain human phenomenon better than others. He or she occupies a position or structural location and observes within a particular angle of vision. So until he had gone through the experience of losing his wife, Rosaldo was not able to fully understand and to shift his perspective into a different angle, allowing him thus to have a better understanding of headhunting among the Ilongot. I also asked you to consider why he calls this ritual as a busy intersection. To him, ritual appears as a place where a number of distinct social processes intersect. For the Ilongot, headhunting stands at the confluence of three particular processes that he identifies. The first being whether or not it is an opportune time to raid. There are socio-historical contexts when it was illegal to practice headhunting because of colonialist practices. Also, the introduction of Christianity provided a different type of outlet, so these are the sorts of considerations that need to be made. The second is that young men undergo a period of personal turmoil. During this time, all they want to do is take a head just to get that burden off of them. They're about to enter a very tumultuous time in their own lives. They're looking to find a partner, settle down, leave their family unit, which is a very stressful experience. The anticipation of that causes this additional need to get something out. The third process then is for the older men in the community. They've already taken a head, so the desire to do it again is lessened. However, when they do experience grief, they might express it in slightly different ways. So maybe the headhunting is not the first thing they go to anymore. They have different sorts of outlets to take advantage of. So in this case, one particular ritual, you see all these different processes have to be kind of weaved together or are weaved together and therefore need to be pulled apart in order for us to gain a clear understanding of what this practice is. So I hope this brings some closure to our activity on grief.